not be the only one that thinks that the UFC just has no rivalries anymore. There's no bad blood. There's no back and forth. There's no two people that really dislike each other in the sport at the moment. Ilya versus Arman is kind of up there, but there's no big build-ups. There's no big rivalries. There's no big beef. It's not about winning. It's about hurting that person. It's about taking everything they have. The UFC just has absolutely none of that anymore, and I'm so fucking sad. I'm so sad that we just don't have that in the sport, bro. I want that level of beef. I want that level of build up. I want these two to fucking hate each other. Okay? DC versus Jones. I say it time and time again. That right there was the best build up, the best rivalry, the best story. Fuck Conor Khabib. That right there was the real fans' beef. Okay, years and years they were going back and forth, failed drugs tests, talking about each other's kids. Like the beef was real. There was none of this fake shit. Okay, even to this day, DC's like, I don't fucking like that guy, bro. That's what I want. Do you know what I mean? That's even Conor Khabib, UFC two, what was it, 229 or something like that, was the most generational card in UFC history. Like nothing will ever compare to that level of hype, level of fucking anticipation. Even the level of beef was really there. You know, people were getting arrested. People, religion was being brought into it. Where's all this beef now? Why do you like each other so much? You're going in a cage and fucking fighting, okay? I understand the whole respect and things like that. Like, I don't really like Colby Covington, but he's even like dialed it down a bit. He doesn't really talk that much shit anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? He doesn't. Like Ian Gary versus Colby would have beef, and that would be a fun build up. But I feel like because there aren't as many stars anymore. But back in the day, the biggest stars were colliding and they had beef. Like you couldn't write a better storyline. You actually couldn't. DC versus Jones was some of the biggest names in the sport at the time, and they were on a collision course and they didn't like each other. They had like build up fights with like Rumble and like OSP when Jones came back fought OSP. DC had fought like Rumble and shit like that. Rest in peace, Rumble. Um, Apart from that, the fucking UFC nowadays, people barely fight. Never mind have beef. They don't. They're just not fighting enough to have beef. One matchup I was really hyped for that had beef, and if you know, you know. Brandon Allen, Marvin Vettori. That's beef. That's beef. I do kind of hate when fighters like fight and then they're like, oh yeah, respect, man. But I kind of understand it. Like you just fought. You know what I mean? Like I understand it, but Chris Eubank versus Conor Ben's an example of Chris Eubank's like, nah, fuck that guy. I'll never shake his hand. That's what I love seeing. That makes me hype for the next fight that they're going to have in the end of September. And I just feel like the UFC is just. I've made a few videos on it, so I don't want to go down, this rabbit hole again, but it's just kind of boring, man. And I really feel like there's just no beef. There's no beef. These guys all like each other. They all respect each other, which is cool, which is fine. But this is entertainment. Now, I do say I don't like forced beef. It's quite obvious when someone's forcing beef. Colby versus Usman, Usman kind of had a bit of, beef towards him, but like Colby's clearly no beef towards Usman. Like he said it at the end of the second fight, he's like, nothing but love. I sold it for you, that kind of a thing. But I just miss the days of like Jones versus DC, man. It's my favorite rivalry in sporting history. I just love it. It was just so perfect. It was so fucking perfect. And we're never really going to get a rivalry like that again. Especially with Jones, at the time he was kind of the GOAT and stuff like that. I'm not even going to comment on that. But DC really didn't like that fucking guy, and he was talking about his personal life and who he is as a person. Colby versus Masvidal had a good build up. They didn't like each other. You know what I mean? Conor Khabib, I always said it is an insane build up that we were extremely lucky to see. But nowadays, no one beefs, and there's no real beef. Like Vittoria Allen was real beef, and it was on a fucking prelim, bro. Prelim. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Tom Aspinall is not going to beef anyone. Pereira is not really going to beef anyone. Pereira versus Izzy was a rivalry, but it was a rivalry based on history and the fact that these dudes had years and years and years of history. It was never a beef rivalry. You know what I mean? That was also a great rivalry, and especially since Izzy chinned him in the last fight, it was incredible. Now, obviously, Pereira is still on top because he has way more wins. Izzy got him once, and Pereira got him how many? Three times was it? Twice in Glory, and then once in the UFC. So he's 3-1 up. You know what I mean? But Izzy will be like, he's like, I don't count scores. I settled them. I don't count scores. I settled them. Oh man. But there's none of that, man. There's none of that even. There's none of that. There's just nothing there, is there? Taporia and Ironman are going to go back and forth, but there's not going to be any beef. Himlet versus Taporia, there is a bit of beef, but yeah, actually, I get behind that. Like, if Himlet's like, I fucking hate him, lad. I want to fucking smash his fucking teeth in. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's good. And Taporia's like, I want to break his fucking face. You know what I mean? I, I just miss. I miss the days of these stars and these characters colliding and really just giving us something to be excited about. What does Pantoja? I love Pantoja, and I say he's one of the most underrated fighters ever. But what does Pantoja give us as fans to get excited? Do you know what I mean? What does he really give? What's Magomed Ankalaev giving us as fans to get excited? Love JDM, love his fight style, think he's great for the sport, but the dude doesn't care about anything but fighting. He's a great fighter. He doesn't want to beef with anyone. Do you know what I mean? That's my fault confession. You put me in there, I get it done. But like he's boring outside the cage. It's facts. It's facts. He's boring outside the cage. And I don't like saying that because I love JDM with all my heart. Like, that's my boy. I've been watching you. That's my boy. But I miss boys that just I miss boys that just fucking sell fights. I miss all of that. I miss them selling fights. I miss them disliking each other. I really miss the rivalries of the UFC. Like, it's just not the same anymore. And like, when are we going to get another massive rivalry? I know they kind of happen, but I'll tell you right now, as a fan, there's nothing that entertains me more, sells me more than genuine bad blood, like on a different level. That is the most entertaining aspect that you can sell me. Nothing else. Fight styles, Ilia Topuria versus Makachev obviously sells itself, but if they didn't like each other, it would sell it to a whole new level. We need to start selling shit again. I feel like the UFC have kind of got comfortable that they're this billionaire company that's just completely on top of MMA. It's a monopoly of MMA. Let's be honest. Maybe they're just too comfortable. Say we don't have any competition. The PFL, fuck no. Bellator folded. We don't need to really do as much as we did. Connor kind of did all that. He got us. He didn't get us here, but he trajected us here. Now we're clearly on top. So we don't really need to do that extra bit of work that we used to do. Maybe it's that. And I do believe that's kind of the case. Dana White's in boxing now was fucking disgrace. Absolute fucking disgrace. Okay, the fact you're promoting Canelo versus that's a fucking traitor. I heard Guru say that. That's a fucking traitor. And I 100% agree. Couldn't 100%. You don't have a pay-per-view in September because of Canelo versus Crawford. That's a fucking traitor to the sport, bro. Traitor to the sport. But let me know about the whole UFC rivalries. Like, who can be next? Who's next? Who can you see that's real? Kind of get this bad blood. Like Tom versus John, that was more of like a ducking thing, so there was no beef there. Tom versus Gan. Tom's not going to beef anyone. He's a great fighter. I just want to fight him. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to beef anyone. He's too nice of a guy. He's too nice of a guy, bro. Like featherweight, everyone loves Volk. No, if you try beef with Volk, you're public enemy number one. That's the one person you don't fuck with. Okay, don't fuck with Volk. Apart from that, bro, who's up there? Pantoja, Joshua Van, no. Marab, not going to beef anyone. Lightweight, Topuria, not really. Him and Armin are kind of going back and forth, but Topuria is kind of like I don't really think he dislikes Armin Sarukian. Welterweight, JDM certainly not going to beef anyone. Middleweight, not really going to beef anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. I know he's kind of he does like a load of trash talking at press conferences, Drickus, and he does very well. But yeah, Drickus is a very entertaining champion. I do really like Drickus as champion. I must say, I love Drickus as the champion. Light heavyweight, Mankalaev, Magomed Ankalaev ain't beefing no one. Heavyweight, you know what I mean? There's no champions that are gonna fucking, say that thing too far and I'm like, oh shit, and then your man's going over trying to get him. Remember Kevin Lee and who was it? Kevin Lee and someone. Kevin Lee just starts. Oh, Michael Chiesa. He said something about his mom, and he was like, "Come here!" Bam! Smacked him at the press conference. Give me that shit now. I love it. But like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.